will be showing off my newest build. It is a very special one to me, as it is my first build based on a suggestion made by my subscriber, going by the name of Lord. It turned out slightly different from what Lord have expected, I'm afraid. But I hope he will be, well, vaguely satisfied. It's also special in that it is my first modded build, so to make this guy exactly as I played him, you will need the glorious Thunderchild mod and the venerable Dragon Soul Relinquishment mod, both of which will be linked in the description. They will allow the player to create a build specializing in shouts and in fact relying almost exclusively on the power of the voice. I'm sure that with a bit of restoration looping you will be able to pull off something very similar. However, both of the modes used here have their own progression curve and balance. You will have to work for the ability to shout endlessly, and you will eventually reach 90% cooldown reduction on your shouts. This is, at least for me, far more satisfying than just chugging some potions and be done with it. And yes, we could have made it 100% reduction, but then the video would be rather short, right? Take all the frost perks in Destruction, unlock full frost breath, get the Dragonborn frost ability, spam the shout button, bye bye. Well, not too much to talk about. So, instead, let's make a powerful wizard specializing in the force of lightning and go with this captivating theme up to the point when he will become a master of storm and thunder, a demigod of the apocalypse, rightfully feared by the villains of Skyrim. So, without further ado, let's start with the story time. You served the Thalmor to the best of your abilities for many long years. You were a part of Thalmor forces assigned to overseeing the implementation of White Gold Concordat in Skyrim. A part of Tamriel you knew very little about and cared even less. But there is more for you here than just the call of duty. You found a friend, a Thalmor soldier guarding the embassy, assigned to help you in your investigations in the Talos worship. You were adults, both of you, and you took great care to avoid your personal relationship getting in the way of hierarchy and organization. So, your friendship remained a secret to most of your comrades. That may be a reason why you were asked one day to look into your friend's private letters. Someone casted a suspicion on her character. Someone accused her of looking away from Talos worshippers in solitude. You did as you were ordered, and discovered that she, in fact, had friends among the Talos worshippers. There was only one thing a faithful Thalmor officer could have done. But in the end, you were unable to do it. It's a travesty to hunt you for your beliefs, she wrote in one of her letters. The divines know my race could use the hope for achieving divinity through good actions and valor, she wrote. In your heart, you knew she was right. She was right, and you loved her. So you escaped solitude to run away from the Thalmor rule. One night, in the wilds of Skyrim, you had a sudden illumination, a strike of realization that the sky above you in this land is yours. Skyrim is now your home and your love, the great love of your life, which you will protect until your dying breath. You will channel the wrath of nature and direct it towards those who wish harm upon her and her people. Okay then, first the race, which I strongly suggest to be an Altmer. Both because it makes for a rather interesting roleplay to be a high elf who is completely in love with Skyrim culture and explores the way of the voice with utmost respect and devotion. And it also makes a lot of sense gameplay-wise because it lets you to focus completely on your health in your leveling, while still making you a competent mage. A Breton would also work quite well for the magic resistance, and with a different backstory, a Nord would also be great for a master of the voice build. With the High Elf as your race, the attributes ratio will be fairly simple. Just put everything in health. Yep, you will be a mage with no magicka. You will increase your magicka pool through enchantments and your racial bonus. This will be enough to take you to the point where all the shouts are unlocked and you can start using them more than you use your spells. You will have a rather unimpressive armor rating, so the Lordstone will come as a great help with its plus 50 to armor. With all the enchanting and 2 pieces of armor on your legs and hands, you will be able to reach around 170 armor rating. Normally it would be laughable, but with this build the enemies will have a hard time getting close to you, and your shouts will let you avoid almost every attack. So your armor rating is here mainly to give you some margin of error in timing your shouts. Your voice and restoration spells is what saves you from dying, not your armor. That being said, let's explore the skills of the build. The extra effect perk in the enchanting skill will, as it is often the case, let you become very powerful even with a fairly suboptimal perk spread or armor. You will need a lot of fortified destruction enchantments placed on at least 3 pieces of apparel, and then a lot of fortified magicka effects. So the build really needs the extra enchantment slots. Some grinding may be required at the start of the game unless you start collecting your shouts and rely on them as soon as possible. The alchemy skill has been perked fairly lightly because I didn't really want to make another crafting build. In fact, you can be quite successful with the potions bought from merchants. Mainly the Enchanter's Elixir, the Blacksmith's Elixir for your gloves and boots, and the Elixir of Destruction. Nevertheless, it is more comfortable to have this skill perked if you really want to achieve something before all the necessary shouts are unlocked. The Destruction magic will be your main damage dealer, and your element of choice should be the Shock magic for its superb rate of fire and precision. With the impact perk, the Chain Lightning spell becomes an ultimate crowd control tool, which is handy because this entire build is about not letting your enemies get close and about controlling the battlefield in general. With a fortified destruction potion and enchantments, you will deal a lot of damage for a very little cost in magicka and keep your foes on their knees almost all the time. This is something I have never done in Skyrim before. Shock mages are awesome, apparently. In the restoration tree, take all the perks in the middle up to the expert restoration perk, the dual casting perk, both ranks of the recovery perk, and avoid death. Avoid death is literally a lifesaver, especially for a rather squishy build such as this one, and recovery will be crucial because of your limited magicka pool, especially if you combine it with a good fortified magicka regeneration enchantment. The grand healing spell available and affordable through the expert restoration perk will be useful from time to time if you find yourself unable to shout. And your last skill with some perk points invested in it should be the light armor. You will wear only the gauntlets and boots of your chosen armor set, which will be enough to give you a little bit of protection, but won't have much of an influence on your ability to sprint and run. This means you will get some margin of error in combat, but will still have no need for any additional investment in stamina. Your main defense will be in the Become Ethereal Shout, your restoration spells, and crowd-controlled ability achieved through unlocking the Impact perk. Just remember to smith your armor pieces as much as you can with high but unperked smithing skill and a good fortified smithing potion. The items section will be rather short here, because the only item that is really indispensable would be the Amulet of Talos, which will be most likely your first step in building up your shout cooldown reduction. You will then combine it with the Blessing of Talos for another 20% reduction, and proceed to pay for even more reduction with the Dragon Souls, which is possible thanks to the Dragon Soul Relinquishment mod. Assuming you devote your efforts to dragon slaying as much as you can, you will achieve a 90% shout timer reduction before level 30, which is before the most challenging dragons start to spawn. So you should be ready for them just in time. The robe shown in the video is from the Thunderchild mod, and I recommend enchanting it with Fortify Destruction and Fortify Health regeneration enchantments. The first one is crucial for a low Magicka Destruction Mage, and the second combines nicely with the Eternal Spirit ability you can get from meditating with Paarthurnax. You will in fact get a 75% faster health regeneration while in the ethereal form. Other than that, try to place the Fortify Magicka enchantment on every available piece of apparel, and then remember about Fortify Magicka, Fortify Health, and the elemental resistances. And now let's talk about shouts at last. Almost every shout there is can be a part of your arsenal, and all of them will go well with the theme of the build. But let me point you to the most vital ones. As has been mentioned, the Become Ethereal Shout is what makes you regenerate your health faster, much faster in fact, and with your insane cooldown reduction can become your main form of avoiding damage, and that means any damage, including spells, arrows, poisons and swords. The Slow Time Shout should be in your hotkeys and should be used all the time. The Thunderchild mod will improve the shout dramatically, giving you more time to run around your foes, rethink your strategy, spray lightning from a safe position, and so on and so forth. It makes your low armor rating much less of a problem and creates many useful combos, like repeatedly shout Frost Breath in slow time mode, which is very satisfying indeed. The Storm Call Shout will be the staple of this build. It will have no more than 30 seconds cooldown even with all the 3 words used, and it will make your outdoors combat encounters easier than a stroll in the park. You can improve it through an ability obtainable in the Thunderchild mod. To make it so, every strike of lightning will send your enemies flying into the sky as if a giant hit them with his grand mace. Oh, sorry. Then you should use the Marked for Death shout, possibly in conjunction with the Drain Vitality shout, which will be more than doable and will be a further help with your low magicka and low armor situation. And from the modded shouts, the most useful would be the Curse shout, which will reflect 5 times the damage dealt by the opponent affected by it, which is a total boss killer, especially on higher difficulties. The other way of reflecting damage will be the Lightning Shield shout, which works for 30 seconds and stacks with the Lightning Cloak spell. The 2 words version of the Earthquake shout will stagger all enemies around you. Do not underestimate the classic feel of Fus Roda You want to send your enemies away from you as much as you can, and there is no better way to do that than this iconic shout. Oh, and the dragon aspect shout, get this one as well, just in case. So, the overall playstyle of the build will be composed of shout combos, lightning spells and crowd control. You will feel like a part of the Greybeard's little order. The Thunderchild mod even gives you a place to sleep in High Hrothgar, and many reasons for coming back there throughout your playthrough. You will start as an aspiring Storm Mage, and as a pure mage, you will probably have a need for a tanky companion early in the game. Later on though, you will need nobody and answer to no one. You will become the incarnation of nature's wrath and be able to dispatch hordes of Draugrs. And I'm speaking of Draugr Deathlords, not the common undead rabble. I had a little encounter with 5 or so Deathlords and a Lich in my game. They didn't really stand a chance. Dragons will be unable to harm you because of your ethereal form. The build is extremely satisfying, if a bit OP. And that would be it. As usual, I hope some of you will try out this build, and if so, don't forget to let me know down there in the comments. We will hopefully see each other again. Bye bye.